What happens when elegance meets fire on live television? When Hollywood royalty walks into a studio where candor can turn combustible in seconds. When a single unexpected question ignites a chain reaction that millions will replay for days. Before we dive into this unraveling moment between Nicole Kidman and Joy Behar, make sure you subscribe to Stage View and like and comment right now. Because what you're about to witness is the kind of story this channel brings to life with intensity, depth, and pure cinematic drama. The moment the studio lights rose over the view that morning, something felt charged. Not the usual caffeinated tension that lived beneath the show's debates, not the playful sparring audiences had come to expect. This was different, heavier, electric, the kind of atmosphere where even the studio audience whispered more softly, glancing at each other as if sensing a storm gathering behind the curtains. Nicole Kidman had arrived quietly, as she often did, moving like a whisper wrapped in poise. She wasn't the kind of guest who walked in trying to dominate the room. She didn't need to. Her presence did the talking. Tall, serene, almost ethereal, yet anchored by that unmistakable strength beneath her soft-spoken charm. This morning, though, there was something else in her eyes, a kind of stillness. The calm before, or perhaps after, a battle. Backstage, one of the producers leaned into her handler and murmured, "Joy's in one of her moods today." The handler simply raised a brow. Nicole glanced in their direction, offering a polite half-smile, the kind that hid more than it revealed. When the theme music hit, the hosts walked out in their usual formation. Joy Behar stepped to her seat with the confident stride of someone who had weathered every tornado daytime TV could throw at her. She wasn't afraid of celebrities, politicians, internet storms. She thrived in the center of controversy, especially when she was the one stirring it. But today, her energy was sharper than usual. There was a glint in her eyes, something like provocation meeting opportunity. "Welcome back to The View, everyone," Whoopi Goldberg announced, voice booming through the applause. "We have a very special guest joining us. Academy Award winner, humanitarian, producer, and the star of the upcoming psychological thriller everyone is talking about, Nicole Kidman." The audience rose, cheering as Nicole walked out, graceful, smiling, her hands clasped in front of her. She took her seat, smoothing her cream-colored dress, offering polite nods to each host. Joy's smile held just a touch too much edge. The interview began innocently enough. Questions about her new film, her process, her long career. Nicole answered with the warmth of someone comfortable with attention, but never seeking it. Her voice flowed like calm water, thoughtful, deliberate. Each word carried intention. Then Joy leaned forward. Her tone shifted. The air tightened. "So, Nicole," Joy began, tapping her blue cue card with a pointed fingertip, "you've built this reputation of being, how should I put it, controlled. Very controlled. Some people even say cold." The studio's energy jolted. Not enough for a gasp, but enough for a stiffened shuffle. A sharp inhale from somewhere in the third row. Nicole's smile faltered, just barely. She blinked, adjusting in her chair. "I'm sorry," she said softly, a touch of confusion in her voice. Joy continued, her voice thick with challenge. "You're famous for staying quiet about controversies," she said. "Never taking big public stances. Never engaging when the industry gets chaotic. Some say that's smart. Others say it's being detached." Whoopi shot her a warning look, a silent Joy, "What are you doing?" But Joy ignored it. Nicole didn't flinch. But something in the air cracked. "Well," Nicole began slowly, "I'm a private person. That doesn't mean I'm cold." Joy chuckled. The kind of laugh that felt less like humor and more like a pressure point being pressed. No, I get it. But people want to know who you are, Nicole," she pressed. "Not just the roles. Not the polished appearances. The real human under all that perfection. Do you ever feel like you hide behind that?" The tension stretched like a rubber band pulled too far. Audience members exchanged anxious looks. This wasn't the interview they expected, nor, judging by Nicole's tightening posture, the one she agreed to. Nicole turned slightly in her seat, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, buying herself a second. But when she met Joy's eyes again, something had shifted inside her. A firmness. A quiet steel. I don't hide, Nicole said, her voice gentle but unwavering. I just don't think the world needs to know everything about me to value my work. Joy pounced. So you don't think audiences deserve honesty? A visible ripple moved through the room. Gasps this time, soft but unmistakable. Whoopi tried to interject, but Joy lifted a hand, still staring at Nicole, her smile widening just enough to feel like a dare. Nicole exhaled slowly, the way someone does when deciding whether to let a comment slide or confront it. Then she sat up straighter. I believe, Nicole said, her words crisp now, that honesty comes in many forms. I'm an actress. I express myself through my work, my characters, my choices. I don't need to perform my personal life for entertainment. The audience applauded, a small, supportive rumble. But Joy wasn't satisfied. That's convenient, Joy said, shrugging. Especially for someone who comes off as untouchable. Like nothing gets to you. People sometimes say you're emotionless. Joy! Sunny hissed under her breath, too late. Nicole's eyes hardened. Only slightly, but enough that the front row felt the temperature shift. I'm not emotionless, Nicole said quietly. I just don't explode on command. A flicker of heat lit Joy's expression. Oh, trust me, we've noticed, she said. Some people say you're too good for that. Nicole finally stopped smiling. The room went still. She looked at Joy, really looked at her, with an expression that wasn't angry, but disappointed. It was the kind of look that made people lower their eyes. Joy, Nicole said softly, I came here to talk about my work. I didn't expect to be told who I am by someone who's never sat with me, never spoken to me privately, never asked me anything beyond a headline. Joy opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Nicole continued, her voice steady but edged with unmistakable truth. You call what I do controlled. I call it being measured, thoughtful. You call me cold, but I've spent my life pouring emotion into stories that reach millions. And you call me untouchable. But maybe that's just how I survive in an industry that tries to tear you apart the moment you show a crack. The audience murmured in agreement. Some clapped. Joy blinked, stunned, the comeback frozen on her lips. Nicole wasn't finished. I don't owe the world my pain to prove I'm human, she said. And I certainly don't owe you a performance of vulnerability just because it makes good television. Now the audience applauded, full, loud, building like a wave. Joy swallowed. Her face flushed. For the first time that morning, she leaned back in her chair, her confidence jolted. Whoopi shot Nicole a subtle nod of respect. Nicole's hands rested calmly in her lap, but you could feel the tremor in the air, the realization that the confrontation had only just begun. Joy, still recovering, forced a laugh to regain her footing. Well, she said shakily, this is getting interesting. Nicole didn't smile back. The camera lights brightened. Someone in the audience whispered. She shut her down. The murmurs grew restless, anticipatory, as if the entire room could sense that the next exchange would determine whether this moment became a fleeting spark or an on-air firestorm. Joy leaned in again, slower this time, more cautious, but unwilling to let the moment slip from her grip. Nicole simply waited, poised, ready. And that's when the segment producer frantically waved from behind the cameras, signaling that they were seconds away from the next question, the one Joy had insisted on asking despite every warning. And it was that question, the one Nicole didn't see coming, that would turn a tense exchange into an explosive confrontation destined to dominate headlines. The red light above the main camera blinked back on, signaling that they were live again, but the studio didn't return to its usual rhythm. Instead, it felt like everyone, hosts, crew, and the hundreds watching from their seats, were bracing themselves for something they couldn't yet name. Even the air-conditioned chill seemed to hesitate, settling into a heavier, almost intimate warmth. Nicole sat tall, composed, though a subtle tremor of adrenaline flickered just beneath the quiet serenity she wore like armor. Joy Behar, meanwhile, rolled her shoulders back as if preparing for a second round, though the flicker of doubt in her eyes betrayed the sting of Nicole's earlier words. Whoopi glanced between the two women, her expression that of someone who'd seen too many storms to underestimate the one gathering right in front of her. Sunny's hands were clasped at her lap, her eyes flicking nervously to the cue cards, as if silently begging them to magically rearrange themselves into safer questions. But none of that mattered now, because Joy had already made her choice. And the producer, helpless to stop what was coming, slowly lowered his hand, defeated. Joy inhaled sharply, then asked the question. So, Nicole, you've had a reputation of being, let's say, selective about the truth. She paused, savoring the ripple of discomfort that rolled through the audience. Do you think Hollywood protects you because of your connections? Or is it because you know how to keep your secrets buried? A gasp cut across the audience like a blade. Several people audibly muttered, "Whoa!" Others leaned forward, shocked, thrilled, horrified. Nicole didn't move. Not at first. She simply stared at Joy, her face softening, not in weakness, but in a chilling, controlled clarity. Selective about the truth? Nicole repeated quietly. Her voice tremored, but not with fear. More like disbelief. Then, secrets. Joy nodded, chin up, pretending she hadn't just crossed a line that could unravel the entire interview. You've been accused of hiding behind your public image, Joy continued. Never addressing rumors, never clarifying contradictions. Some say Hollywood protects you because you play by its rules, that you stay silent when others speak up. Nicole looked down at her hands, her fingers gently interlacing. When she lifted her gaze again, her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with something sharper, something dangerously honest. You're implying I'm dishonest, Nicole said. Oh, I'm just asking, Joy replied, waving a hand lightly. People want transparency. Isn't that fair? No, Nicole said calmly. You're not asking. You're accusing. The audience gasped again. Whoopi pressed her lips together, muttering under her breath, Lord have mercy. Nicole leaned forward slightly, and the camera instinctively tightened its frame on her face. Her expression was still calm, but there was a glacial force behind her eyes now. A force Joy seemed to sense too late. You think because I don't talk about every rumor, Nicole said, that I'm hiding something. A small, bitter laugh escaped her. Joy, the entertainment industry has taught me one thing. The moment you respond to every lie, every assumption, every whisper, you stop being an artist and become a puppet. Joy opened her mouth, but Nicole continued, her voice gaining strength. You want transparency? Fine. She placed a hand on her chest. I grew up with a camera watching me before I even knew who I was. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every vulnerability, someone out there wanted to exploit it. And when I finally learned to set boundaries, people like you decided that meant I was hiding. The audience murmured in agreement. Nicole's honesty was piercing, raw, yet beautifully measured. Joy, flustered, forced a chuckle. I'm just doing my job. No, Nicole interrupted softly. You're not. Silence. You're doing what too many people in this industry do, Nicole said. You confuse curiosity with entitlement. You think because I'm an actress, you deserve access to my private life. My pain. My scars. But you don't. Joy blinked. Sunny froze. Whoopi actually leaned back, impressed. Nicole continued, voice steady, now carrying a quiet fire. If you want to ask about my career, my craft, my work, ask. But don't sit here and pretend this is journalism when it's clearly provocation. A ripple of applause rose, but Joy slammed her palm on the table lightly, stopping it. Oh, so I can't ask tough questions now, she snapped. I can't challenge a Hollywood A-lister? Nicole's eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with the finality of someone who refused to be intimidated. Tough questions aren't the problem, Nicole said. Cheap shots are. The room erupted in claps, cheers, whistles. Joy's face deepened to a shade of red she couldn't hide behind makeup. So let me challenge your narrative, Joy, Nicole said suddenly, leaning forward, her voice lowering in volume but not in intensity. You say I'm protected. But you, she pointed gently to Joy, are protected by the very format of this show. Joy stiffened. What does that mean? It means, Nicole said, that you get to ask whatever you want, however you want, without ever being held accountable for the damage those questions cause. You've built a career on provocation disguised as commentary. Joy scoffed. Oh, please. But Nicole wasn't stopping now. And you know what? She said. That's fine. It's your choice. But don't confuse fearless with reckless. And don't confuse my privacy with your weapon. The audience roared. Applause thundered through the studio. A few people even stood, unable to contain their shock. Joy stared at Nicole as if seeing her for the first time. Not as the ethereal movie star, not as the quiet interview subject, but as a woman holding her ground with unnerving power. Nicole inhaled deeply, then said, If you want honesty, here's honesty. I don't owe this industry anything beyond my work. And I don't owe you, or anyone else, the pieces of my life I choose to keep sacred. The applause poured over her like a wave. But beneath it, something darker simmered. Joy wasn't done. She couldn't be. Her pride wouldn't let her walk away defeated. So you think you're immune to criticism? Joy asked sharply. That's what it sounds like. Nicole smiled, not sweetly, not politely, but with a quiet, devastating certainty. No, she said. I'm just not afraid of it. Joy's mouth opened and closed. Her hands trembled around her cue card. The audience murmured with excitement. They knew something irreversible had happened. A line had been crossed, and then redrawn firmly by the very woman people once accused of being too controlled. Whoopi finally intervened. All right, she said, tapping the table loudly. Let's take a breath before this turns into something none of us can walk back from. But it was too late, because Joy, recovering her footing, leaned in one last time and delivered a blow that made even the crew members wince. So, Nicole, she said tightly, are you saying everyone else is wrong about you, and only you know the real truth? Nicole tilted her head, her expression softening into something simultaneously sad and powerful. No, she said. I'm saying the only person qualified to define me is me. A deep, resonant silence consumed the studio. And then, applause. Massive. Overwhelming. Uncontrollable. Joy looked out at the audience, stunned, unsure whether she had just lost control of the narrative, or whether Nicole had shattered the table she thought she owned. Nicole's eyes dropped momentarily, a flicker of emotion passing through them so quickly that only those closest to her caught it. The segment producer signaled frantically for commercial, but the cameras stayed on longer than usual, capturing the frozen tension between the two women. And as the screen finally cut to black, the entire studio buzzed like a hive shaken open. The commercial break felt nothing like a break. It felt like the eye of a hurricane. The moment the cameras cut, the studio transformed into a quiet battlefield. Crew members buzzed around with the frantic energy of people trying to fix something that had already blown apart. A stage manager whispered urgently into her headset. A makeup artist hovered near Nicole but hesitated, unsure if approaching her would fracture whatever fragile calm she was maintaining. Another crew member attempted to hand Joy a fresh cue card, but she waved him away sharply. Nicole sat still, breathing slowly, her fingertips pressed together. Not angry, not shaken, just centered, like someone who had reached a point where fear had nothing left to take from her. Joy, on the other hand, fidgeted with her pen, tapping it against the table in uneven bursts. Her shoulders were stiff, her eyes darting around as if searching for an ally, a lifeline, a reset button. But the room offered her none. In the audience, whispers swelled. Did you see her face? She shut Joy down. This is gonna trend instantly. Oh, Joy's furious. Look at her body language. The temperature of the room shifted. Tension leaked into every seat, every breath. Whoopi leaned toward Joy, voice low and stern. You pushed her too far. Joy didn't respond. She simply stared ahead, jaw tight, as if trying to swallow an emotion that refused to stay buried. You know you did, Whoopi added. Sunny looked between them, anxiety etched across her face. We can still pull it back, she whispered. Maybe redirect to safer questions. No, Joy snapped quietly. We're finishing this. Finishing what? Whoopi asked. A segment or a feud? Joy didn't answer. The producer strode over, kneeling beside Joy's chair. Listen, we have 10 more minutes with Nicole. Keep it respectful. Pivot. Please, he urged. We're already getting live social blowback. But Joy's pride was a living, breathing thing. Once wounded, it demanded satisfaction. Nicole watched them with a stillness that was almost unnerving. Not smug. Not defensive. Just aware. Present. Strong. When the countdown began. Back in 10 seconds. 9. 8. Joy inhaled deeply, almost theatrically. Nicole straightened her posture, her expression soft but unreadable. Whoopi exhaled, bracing herself. And then, 2. 1 were live. The camera light flared red again. But the room was different. It felt like the moment before a match hits gasoline. Whoopi attempted to reclaim the momentum with a smile. Welcome back to The View. If you're just joining us, well, it's been lively. A few nervous laughs scattered through the audience. Nicole smiled politely, tilting her head, as if offering a gesture of peace the moment before the next battle. Joy seized the moment. So, Nicole, she said, her voice silky, controlled, too controlled. During the break, we were discussing your tendency to avoid addressing rumors. Some might see that as strategic silence. Whoopi shot her a look. Really? But others might call it evasion. A sharp exhale rippled through the audience. Several groaned. One woman muttered, "Oh, come on," loud enough that her row turned to stare. Nicole didn't blink. "Joy," she replied gently, "you're repeating yourself." "It's an important point," Joy insisted. "No," Nicole said softly. "It's a fixation." Joy stiffened. The audience murmured. Nicole continued, her voice calm but laced with a quiet intensity that demanded attention. "You keep circling back to this idea that I owe you answers to questions rooted in speculation." She held Joy's gaze. "I don't." Joy folded her arms. "That's convenient." Nicole leaned forward, graceful, deliberate, devastating. "It's called dignity." The audience erupted. Cheers, claps, whistles. Joy's nostrils flared. Whoopi smacked the table lightly. "Ladies, please, let's keep this productive." But Joy wasn't backing down. Not after being outmaneuvered twice. "All right, Nicole, let's talk about something else," she said suddenly, shifting tactics. Her tone sharpened. "Your marriage." Nicole's face paled, almost imperceptibly. The audience gasped. Whoopi froze. Sunny's hands flew to her mouth. Joy continued anyway. "You've always been careful not to discuss your personal life publicly. Why? What are you protecting? Yourself or someone else?" "What the hell?" Whoopi snapped. "Joy." But it was too late. Nicole's breath caught. Not visibly, not dramatically, but in that subtle, human way someone breathes right before deciding whether to run or stand their ground. She stood her ground. "Joy," Nicole said quietly, "that question is inappropriate." "Oh, come on," Joy said, waving her hand dismissively. "You're a public figure. It's fair game." "No," Nicole said firmly. "It's invasive." Joy leaned back. "Or maybe you just don't want to answer." Nicole's eyes glistened, not with tears, but with betrayal. A betrayal not of Joy specifically, but of a media system she'd spent decades surviving. Then she did something no one expected. She told the truth. A raw, undressed truth she had never shared publicly. "I protect my personal life," Nicole said, "because fame nearly destroyed my first marriage." The studio fell into a vacuum of silence. Nicole exhaled shakily. "I learned that some relationships can't survive when everyone feels entitled to dissect them." Joy blinked, stunned. Nicole continued, her voice trembling but resolute. "And I promised myself that if I ever found love again, I wouldn't let this," she gestured to the studio, "take it from me." The audience murmured. Several people wiped their eyes. Nicole smiled faintly, heartbreakingly. "So yes, I protect it. Because it's mine. Because it's real. And because it's the one part of my life that isn't for sale." Joy swallowed hard. For a moment, just a moment, her expression cracked. But then something in her hardened again. "So you're blaming the media?" Joy challenged. "No," Nicole said softly. I'm blaming the people who confuse curiosity with entitlement. Joy's response slipped out sharp, defensive, too quick to be thoughtful. You think you're better than us. Nicole's brows furrowed. What? You sit there acting like you're above the questions, Joy said, her voice rising. Above the audience. Above the conversation. Joy, Whoopi warned. Nicole leaned forward, her expression shifting. Not angry, but deeply, profoundly wounded. Joy, she whispered. I'm not above anyone. I'm just trying to protect the pieces of my life I can't get back if they break. That line hit something in the room. Something heavy. Something real. Joy hesitated, then forced a laugh that didn't land. Well, that's a very emotional answer, she said. But you still didn't actually answer the question. Nicole straightened slowly, her posture regal, her eyes steady. And then, in a moment that would be replayed across every social platform within hours, Nicole Kidman shut Joy down completely. Joy, she said, her voice low and calm. You're not asking questions. You're probing for wounds. The audience gasped. And I won't bleed for your entertainment. The applause exploded. Loud. Violent. Uncontainable. People stood. People shouted. People cheered like they were watching a championship match, and the underdog had landed the knockout punch of the decade. Joy sat frozen. Silent. Humiliated. Nicole didn't look triumphant. She looked relieved, like she had finally released something she'd carried for years. Whoopi seized control. She said loudly, We need to wrap this segment. But the segment was already beyond saving. Joy stared at Nicole, breathing hard, her face flushed with equal parts anger and embarrassment. Nicole turned toward her, the kindness in her eyes startling after everything that had happened. You don't have to do this, Nicole whispered so softly that only the hosts and the first row heard it. Joy's chin trembled. But then she turned away. The producer gestured frantically for a final wrap-up. Whoopi sighed and looked into camera one. We'll be right back, she said, her tone heavy. And wow, stay with us. The camera cut. Lights dimmed. The audience buzzed so loudly the room vibrated. And Nicole and Joy both sat still. One calm, one unraveling, as the realization sank in. This wasn't just a heated interview. This was a fracture. A moment that would explode into headlines. When the cameras cut away for the final commercial break, the studio felt like it had been scraped raw. Tension clung to the air in thick, invisible strands. Even the audience, who had entered the building expecting laughter, light banter, maybe a political jab or two, sat stunned, clutching their armrests, whispering with an energy that bordered on disbelief. Nicole Kidman sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, her breathing steady. The storm had passed through her, not broken her. She looked, strangely, lighter, as if speaking the truth she'd guarded for years had peeled away a weight no one but her could have understood. Joy Behar, by contrast, looked hollowed out. Her arms folded tightly, her jaw tense, eyes downcast as if she were reading some invisible list of regrets on the table in front of her. Makeup artists approached, but she waved them away, her chest rising and falling in uneven, frustrated breaths. The armor she wore so effortlessly on television, the sharp wit, the biting humor, the unshakable confidence, had cracked under the force of Nicole's quiet honesty. The stage crew hovered anxiously, unsure whether the segment should continue or be cut entirely. One producer whispered harshly into his headset, his eyes flicking between the two women, then toward the control room as if begging for divine intervention. In the audience, reactions had spiraled into open debate. She needed to hear that. No, Joy went too far. Nicole handled it with class. That was brutal, but real. I can't believe they let that happen on live TV. The hum of voices swelled like a restless tide. Whoopi stood, stretching her back, exhaling hard. Every damn year, she muttered, rubbing her temples. Every season it's something. Sunny approached Nicole cautiously. Are you okay? She asked gently. Nicole offered a calm smile. I'm all right, she said. Truly. Sunny nodded, relieved but still worried. That was intense. Nicole laughed softly, almost sadly. I didn't come here for a fight. But I wasn't going to let myself be torn apart, either. Her words carried the weight of someone who had fought too many silent battles to let one more slip by unchallenged. On the other side of the table, Joy overheard. She swallowed, hard, but said nothing. When the floor manager called, "Back in 10 seconds," everyone snapped back into place. The audience straightened. The crew took their positions. And the host sat upright, masks of professionalism settling over their faces like fresh coats of paint. 5, 4, 3. The red light snapped on. Whoopi, seasoned as always, took the lead. Her tone diplomatic, heavy with the responsibility of pulling the show out of freefall. "Welcome back," she said. "It has been an emotional conversation today, and we appreciate everyone staying with us." The camera panned across the table. Nicole composed. Joy rigid. Sunny sympathetic. Whoopi tired. Nicole didn't speak. She simply waited. Joy inhaled sharply, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles paled. Then, in a moment that surprised the entire room, she spoke. "Nicole," Joy said, her voice thinner, quieter than before. "I want to say something." Nicole turned to her gently. Joy swallowed. "I push people. It's what I do. It's my job sometimes. But I didn't mean to cross a line with you." The audience murmured, leaning in. Joy continued, her gaze softening with a vulnerability she rarely showed on camera. "You're right. I was probing. And it wasn't fair." Nicole blinked, surprised but open. Joy's voice cracked slightly. "Your honesty today, that was powerful. And I respect it. More than you know." A hush fell over the audience. Nicole's expression warmed with an empathy that didn't feel forced or polished. It felt deeply human. "Joy," she said softly, "I appreciate that. Truly." Joy nodded, exhaling for what felt like the first time in minutes. "I guess I didn't expect you to be that honest. I didn't expect you to be that strong." Nicole smiled, humble but unwavering. "I've been through enough to learn when I need to speak." Joy nodded again, her eyes glistening. "Well, thank you for doing it here, even if I didn't make it easy." Nicole reached across the table, slowly, and placed a gentle hand atop Joy's. The audience sighed, many smiling, relieved. It wasn't reconciliation. Not fully. But it was understanding. Unexpected, raw, beautifully unscripted. Whoopi leaned back, exhaling loudly. "Thank God," she muttered, drumming her fingers on the table. "All right, can we breathe? Is everyone okay? Anybody need tea? A nap? A vacation?" The audience laughed, real laughter this time, not the uncomfortable kind. Nicole chuckled softly. Joy even cracked a small smile. And just like that, the room began to thaw. Nicole concluded the interview with grace, shifting back into calm professionalism, answering a few last questions about her film. But even those answers were colored by what had unfolded. She was more open, more real, and the audience adored her for it. When the final credits rolled and the cameras shut down, applause rose, warm, sincere, grateful. Nicole stood and embraced Sunny. She thanked Whoopi. She turned to Joy. Joy hesitated, then stepped forward. They hugged. Brief, tentative, but undeniably genuine. The audience clapped again, softened by the sight of closure after chaos. As Nicole walked toward the backstage curtain, her silhouette traced by the glow of studio lights, there was a sense that they had all witnessed something rare. A confrontation that didn't descend into bitterness, but instead forced truth to rise, to break, to breathe, to heal. But outside the studio, the real eruption had already begun. Within minutes, clips flooded social media. Nicole Kidman shuts down Joy Behar live. Joy crosses the line. Nicole fires back. Most tense interview in The View's history. Nicole's honesty breaks the internet. Millions watched, commented, argued. Some defended Joy. Many praised Nicole. All agreed. No one expected the emotional rawness that unfolded. Entertainment outlets spun up emergency headlines. Publicists scrambled. Think pieces appeared within hours. Twitter, no, the entire internet, exploded with takes, memes, edits, slow-motion clips of Joy's expression when Nicole delivered that line. "I won't bleed for your entertainment." It became iconic. Shared. Posted. Quoted, tattooed into the collective memory of viewers around the world. Nicole Kidman left the studio that day with her reputation not only intact, but transformed. Stronger, human, unforgettable, and Joy, despite the heat she faced, earned reluctant respect from some for owning her misstep on air. In the end, the confrontation didn't break either woman. It revealed them. And that is why this moment still echoes, why people still talk about it, still argue about it, still replay it. Because it wasn't just a clash. It was a truth-telling, a reckoning on live TV. A moment when dignity, vulnerability, pride, and pressure collided, and the world got to watch. And now, it's your turn. What do you think about what happened between Nicole Kidman and Joy Behar? Who was right? Who crossed the line? Whose side do you take? Tell me in the comments below. And if you want more cinematic, emotional, explosive stories just like this one, make sure you subscribe to Stage View. Hit the like button. Turn on notifications. Because the next story might be even wilder. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Stage View.